What was your first encounter with utter bullshit during your childhood? My little sister pushed me down the stairs and I got in trouble for antagonizing her. She wouldn't do that for no reason. You did not know your daughter, mom and dad. To my knowledge, it was for no reason. It was the morning, so I hadn't even gotten the chance to piss her off. Also, it wasn't the first time she had done it, just the first time my parents got involved. I was 4 years old. In preschool, we were having water day, which was this day full of water-based fun activities. Little kid me had been looking forward to this for weeks. Before we had free time to enjoy all the water games and kiddie pools. We had to do some mandatory team building games. There was this girl who hated me for no reason, and of course I got put by her. We were doing this game where we had to pass a solo cup full of water down the line of kids as fast as possible. So cup gets to me. I try to hand it to her. She stares at me for like 10 seconds while I hold this cup like a jackass, waiting for her to take the damn cup. Our team loses. She grabs the cup and splashes it on herself. She starts screaming, bawling. Teachers come over and she babbles about how I wouldn't give her the cup, then threw it at her when we lost. I get left alone in the music room all day staring at the gray walls while the rest of the class got to have fun playing in water. It was such bullshit it formed a core memory. Edit. Whoa. This blew up. I don't have time to comment back to everyone. But I wanted to say thanks to those who responded and answer a few questions. 1. I have no idea what happened to the girl. We went to different schools after this. I forgot her name over time, but I never forgot this incident. I think she hated me because I was the other smart kid in class and she saw me as a rival or something, even though I just wanted to be her friend. 2. I don't really blame her or wish her any ill will. I hope she's happy now and handles her anger better. Kids don't know how to handle their emotions yet. And we were barely older than toddlers when this happened. I know I was a little shit sometimes too when I was younger. As an adult, I'm honestly just horrified that my teacher thought it was cool to lock a 4-year-old alone in a room for hours without checking in. I guess she trusted I was smart enough not to eat chalk or something. But it was a really fucked up thing to do. 3. I'm 28 now and I promise you this did not ruin my life. I just remember it because it was the first time I ever got properly angry as a kid. Lol. 4. I was 4. I don't know why the teachers didn't see what happened. I don't remember the details beyond being very excited out under the big blue sky, this stupid game happening, and then spending the day staring at the gray acoustic panel walls in the music room with no entertainment because I was being punished. Yay Christian school. 5. Yes. Core memory was an Inside Out reference. In preschool, my mom gave me a book of math problems and said if I got them all done by the end of the day, I'd get a reward. I did the shit out of those math problems. My reward was a hug. I felt like Patrick from the Valentine's episode of SpongeBob. Edit. I feel I should clarify my mom and I love each other very much. It's just when you're 5 and you hear the word reward, you tend to have high expectations. My mom finding a cigarette in the backyard, accusing me of having stolen a friend's mom's cigarettes to secretly smoke there and grounding me for it despite me not having done any such thing. I was like 9 at that time. When I was in kindergarten, we had to that thing where you had a grid of boxes, and in each box was a word. You would have to cut out each box individually. Then arrange the words in some order. After a few months of cutting out each box like we had been shown, I figured that cutting out the rows and putting them on top of each other so the boxes lined up, and cutting them out like that, would take a lot less time. My teacher saw me do this. I had to stay in at recess to cut them out the right way. Was asked to watch the rectory on Friday nights so the priests could have a night off. I was 12 years old. My job basically was to accept food that was brought by parish owners for the priests and find a place for it in their jammed-packed double-glass door refrigerator that was as wide as 2 refrigerators. There were 4 priests at our tiny parish. I accepted fully cooked roasts, hams, casseroles and cakes. I was told not to eat anything. A few months later I was made to clean the convent with a couple of the nuns as a punishment for talking too much in class. There were 23 nuns who lived on site and taught school. Their kitchen had a tiny refrigerator, and when it was lunchtime they opened a cupboard of expired canned goods. We had very old tomato soup for lunch with stale bread and milk made from powder. I asked them if they knew about the food over at the rectory and they said no. I was around 7 to 8. It was sports day in my school and I participated in Pass the Baton. I was enjoying myself and trying my hardest. But at the end of it my class teacher told my mom, in front of me, that I was too slow. Not sure why I took it to heart, but I just felt disappointed and it made me lose confidence in sports. My mom. You don't lie to others. Also my mom. Getting caught red-handed while telling a lie and I had to call her out on it. I was bullied a lot in elementary school. To be fair, I was a pretty easy target for the bullying. Would have a meltdown not knowing where to start. So every day at lunch and recess I would get chased and harassed by 4 other boys. One day the teacher assigned to keep order on the playground grabbed me and told me to quit running. But of course, as soon as I did the 4 boys began pushing and taunting me, so I started running again. Next thing I know the teacher grabs me by the arm and starts to paddle me. Teachers could do that back then. She missed my ass and caught me in the back again. So I cussed at her. She sent me to the principal's office. And when I told him what had happened he just shook his head, then had me stand up to take 3 licks from his paddle. 5th grade is when I learned the world was utter bullshit. When our teacher would yell at us if we asked to go to the bathroom at the beginning of class because we should have gone earlier. And then yell at us if we asked to go in the middle of class because we were interrupting. And then yell at us if we wanted to go at the end because we were trying to ditch since the class was almost over. The first time I was followed by a couple of guys in a car. I was 12. I ran to the nearest house for help. And I asked them if we should call the police. And they said no. Looking back, I think they were wrong. Edit. This happened in rural Illinois. Free work. Apparently, these random people who were staying over at my house just casually expected me to write a computer program for them after I mentioned learning Python. When I asked them how much they were willing to pay, they gawked at the idea. I then had to deal with them whining at me about how much I didn't respect them, while they tried to give increasingly nonsensical explanations for why I should work for them for free. Highlights include 1. Explaining how me doing free work for them educated me in computer science. I was already studying on my own. 2. Claiming that everybody owed everybody for their contributions to society. In the vein of, if Alice cut Bob's hair and he paid $10 for it, everybody else also needs to pay Alice. And that I needed to pay him back for having a job by doing free work. 3. Repeatedly asking, why can't you do X? When I raised my objections to their fallacious reasoning and then claiming that I couldn't reasonably reason through every single objection with the response, because I have no incentive or obligation to. Therefore I couldn't refuse their demands. 4. Arguing that my work wasn't worth getting paid for. 5. Arguing their satisfaction at receiving free work was more important than me getting paid for it. After I attempted to explain the obvious to them by using analogies such as having to pay for services, such as a plumber, and pointing out how ridiculous it would be for adults to walk up to random children and begin demanding free work from them, amongst many other counter-arguments, they essentially threw a fit for not getting what they wanted. I was left aghast at how entitled some people could be. My mom would ask my opinion on things constantly. I would say it didn't matter to me, or whatever she thought was best. But she would force the issue until I finally answered. Then she would scream at me about how I didn't understand or I was an idiot or I never thought of her needs. I still panic a little when people ask for my opinion on something. This was back before classrooms were super tech savvy. One afternoon, the teacher was trying a new system and wanted the class to participate. She couldn't get it to work and called the tech support guy. Well, this took a long time. We were just sitting there quietly, waiting impatiently, and the time for recess came. The teacher didn't let us go to recess because she couldn't figure out the computer program. This happened 11 years ago and I am still angry. Learning that you can start a sentence with, and, despite, me being fed that information since year 3. Turned in 2 papers in 3rd grade that were not facing the right way. Got held in 10 minutes from recess because they won't let you do that in college or in business. Never had an issue with it in college. Worked a retail job with daily paperwork. They didn't care what the paper looked like as long as they could read it and as long as it was done. In 2nd grade a friend said the B word, and didn't realize that it was a curse word. I tried to explain to him it was a bad word and he shouldn't say it. The teacher heard me spell it. Because I didn't want to say it out loud. During my explanation, wrote a note to my parents saying I used this word and sent me home for the day. Not the first but one that sticks out strongly in my mind. Me laying in a hospital bed after an overdose when I was 13. And my mother and father were standing on opposite sides of the bed screaming and yelling at each other over me. I recall making eye contact with a nurse for a notable length of time. Being told I could not use the restroom in class. I was not a cut up and really had to go. It was dehumanizing. Who threw that paper plane at the teacher? No one is confessing? Alright then. Everyone is punished. My mom informs everyone dinner is ready by yelling from the bottom of the stairs and expects me to hear her despite my room being on the other side of the house, my door being closed, and my TV being on. Also my mom. Don't yell from the top of the stairs. You need to ask me in person or else I can't hear you. I'm not made of ears, you know. In first grade, getting my yellow card flipped to red while I was in the bathroom. The teacher flipped everyone in the class one card while I was away because I guess she had it with us. Fuck you, Ms. Smith.